Bye, Harry. See you tonight. This life's been kind to me, and I've got to change. To stop taking it for granted. I forget sometimes how beautiful this city is. It's better to walk. I should take more care of myself. There's a whole future ahead. I should feel closer to Harry, but the tech is like a tide slowly pulling at us. Just drifting through the days. I'm going to take control. It feels like I drifted into these routines. Hmm. Some routine is good, sure. Other routines are just how we fill our days. I can't believe how lucky I've been, and I took it for granted. I've let myself lose track of what I want after everything we've been through. We used to walk in the park together. We should do more of that. Patterns. The same start again. The same alarm tone that Harry can sleep through. I think of these routines as optimized living, like they allow me time to focus on other things. But I've not been doing that. Why have I just passed by this for so long? It's beautiful. The same stories I've carried with me for years between houses. Harry likes me in this t-shirt. These daily things, they're good, but weigh us down too. I've got to a good place in life, but I feel like I'm not taking it further. Even here I get into patterns. Bathroom first, then kitchen for breakfast. Maybe I should change that. Every change helps. Tea. A man takes the lead, Grandma would tell me. I guess I need to step up to the line. I've got a great thing here. She's a good woman at heart. Old-fashioned, but still. She's right. A man steps up to challenges. I'll ask Harry to marry me. Husband and husband for the rest of our lives. I think maybe Grandma would be okay with it these days. Then again, maybe she wouldn't.
Of course, as Will's grandmother, I knew him since he was born. I visited him in hospital on that first day. I still remember the day that James, that's Will's father, handed my grandson to me. He was such a handsome boy from that first moment. Back in the 1980s, James was running 3 pubs in London. He was quite into that punk thing and looked a terrible state to me. I would babysit Will as often as I could to make sure he had someone normal in his life. Sharon was always reading. She taught art history. Never really made much money. Will's birth wasn't very easy, but he got here. He was never going to have brothers or sisters after that. I always thought Will should play outside more. He preferred making up stories, even back then. James had horror books in the house, and I'm so glad they were kept on a high shelf away from Will. Terrible things. I just don't understand what pleasure there is in that kind of story. Sharon, Will's mother, broke up with James for 3 years at one point and took Will away to America, where she comes from. They had met through James's work. No wonder, really. James and Sharon would always be putting on some awful music, if you could call it that. Not my cup of tea at all. I turned it off first thing whenever I was babysitting. I suppose I sound old-fashioned, but there are appropriate ways to raise a child. I only wanted Will to grow up happy and normal. I remember that night because Will had been unusually quiet all evening. He had been in a fight at school. It started because a boy had been picking on a girl, calling her names because of her dark skin. Will was punched in the stomach when he tried to get the boy to stop. I asked him if he had cried, and he said yes. I told him that big boys don't cry. I remember him asking me then, what do big boys do when they're sad? When he was grown up, I told him he would be a good man. He would be able to stand up to others. Even though he was hurt, I told him he was right to try to stop the bully. Now I think about this, he didn't seem much happier. What should I have said? Will tripped over his toy van when he was going to bed. I remember carrying him. He was trying so hard not to cry. He was so small in my arms. I've never forgotten that feeling. I have so many little memories making up our lives together. It's odd what sticks with you, though. I took him to bed to read him a story. Sharon kept on buying him books of ghost stories. He always wanted me to read him those, but he never slept properly after, I think. I made sure he could see me looking carefully. I always had to check the room for ghosts before he would settle down. I remember promising him, while I looked, that I would always protect him. I would always be there for him. I'm sure he thought I just meant about ghosts, but I meant it for everything. I always remember that feeling. I wonder if I knew his life wouldn't be easy. I've been reading him Grimm's fairy tales. I didn't like all the updated nonsense they'd been putting into stories back then. It was a strange story that night, called The Ungrateful Son. I'll tell it to you, it's only short. Once upon a time, a man and his wife were eating a roast chicken for dinner. When the man saw his father, who was very old, walking up the road towards them, the man didn't want to share, and so he hid the chicken out of sight. His father came, bid them a good day, and went on his way. The man was very happy and so told his wife to put the chicken on the table again. But the chicken had transformed into a giant toad, which leapt onto the face of the man. The toad wouldn't leave his face and hissed at the wife when she came near, so she didn't dare approach to help. The man had to feed the toad every day from then on, or it would bite his face, and he never rested for the remainder of his life. That was a very strange story. Will was asleep before I finished it, which was probably a good thing. I felt strange after reading it. I wondered about whether I really could keep him safe. I knew I would do my best to help him find his place in the world. Any other grandmother would try to do the same. I could still see him sleeping there now, like it was only yesterday.